Hey guys, welcome back to the Timber Forge. In today's Let's Code video, I'm going to go through the process of creating a loadable and shootable cannon in Minecraft Java Edition by using a data pack. I haven't done this kind of video in a while, but I do want to bring this series back, and I'm hoping to upload more consistently in the future. Having a constant series that is both useful to you guys and also doesn't take too much planning or editing would definitely be nice in addition to whatever tutorial videos I make. That being said, if you guys have any suggestions relating to the Let's Code series, please leave it in the comment section down below. Or if you have ideas for other series you would like to see or you're interested in, also leave a comment for that too. So what we're actually going to make in today's Let's Code video is a cannon, which you can craft by throwing 3 oak planks and 3 blocks of iron onto the ground, and once they combine it will create a cannon. And when you place this, it will point in whatever direction you were looking, so if I want to shoot the front of the boat, I face the front of the boat. And to load it, you could use 1 gunpowder for the propellant and 1 iron ingot for the cannonball. And then you get a torch to light the back of it on fire and actually launch the projectile forwards. And as you can see, it launches a cannonball towards the target, which will explode on impact. And once it is destroyed, you could either destroy it by shooting at someone else's cannon or by just running up to it and bashing it. Then it will drop 2 oak planks and 2 blocks of iron as the result of that. Alrighty, so let's get started with making the cannon. So first I'm going to start off with what I already have. Right now I have a basic resource pack which simply adds a custom model for any armor stands that have the custom model data value of 168001. So I'm just going to show you right now that if I give myself an armor stand with the custom model data, and if you don't know how to do this, make sure you check out my custom model data video. But if I just give myself an armor stand with custom model data of 168001, then I get a armor stand that looks like a cannon. But right now when I place it down, it's just a normal armor stand. And when I throw it on the ground, it looks like a cannon. That's all there is for now. So the first thing we're going to get started with is making it so that when we place the armor stand down, instead of looking like an armor stand, it's actually going to look like a cannon. And I'm going to do that using MC Stacker. So now I'm in MC Stacker, hopefully it's zoomed in enough. So I'm going to start with making the summon command. Actually, we're going to be using a floor crafting recipe, so I'm just going to start off with making a summon command actually for an item. That is an item of an armor stand, since for floor crafting, if you haven't seen the video, it's going to summon the item on the floor for the player to pick up. So I'm going to make it summon an item that is of type armor stand, and I'm going to have the name be cannon because that's what we're making. And let's say color, I'll do white with not italic. Custom model data gotta be 168001, so it actually looks like a cannon when you hold it in your hand. And then custom tags, I'm gonna put cannon. So this is the item section, so I actually don't want to put custom tags there. That's where you want to put stuff like cannon 1B if you're trying to detect the item, but since I'm not detecting the item, I need to put it in the entity tag section. So that's this section here. Yep. This is the entity tag section, and this is where I'm going to put cannon, and this is for our commands to detect it later on. And then after that, I'm going to add, I don't need a custom name because that's for the armor stand, so that's not really relevant. I'm going to make it small, and I'm going to make it have no base plate because I want the armor stand to still be there, so I'm not going to make it invisible because I want it to be that if it gets blown up, then the cannon gets destroyed. If it's invisible, it doesn't really interact with the environment as far as I remember. And then show arms, I'll just keep it as false for now. And then on the head, in order to actually display the model, I'm going to add the armor stand again with custom model data. So, and if this looks weird, that's because I'm zoomed in so you guys could see it easier. So custom model data, I'm going to set it to 168001. So that means that on the head of the armor stand, when it's placed down, it's going to have the actual custom model data. Because you can't put the model onto the armor stand itself, it has to go onto an item that is displayed on its head. So that should be it. So I'm just going to copy paste this into the game. Oh, too long, so I have to get myself a command block. And now as you see, when I place this cannon down, it actually looks like a cannon instead of just looking like an armor stand. So now I can move on to the part where I'm actually going to add the crafting recipe to get this cannon item. So for the sake of simplicity, since we are going to be adding extra stuff here, I'm not going to spend too much time on the crafting, but I do want to do a simple floor crafting recipe. So I'm just going to make it cost 3 iron blocks and 3 oak planks. and then I'm going to make a quick floor crafting recipe. So I'm just going to throw these guys onto the ground, and I'm going to go a step at a time to make sure if something goes wrong, I'll know exactly what caused it. So first I'm just going to start by executing as all entities that are type of item, and I want it to be NBT, and I want to make sure that the item NBT has the ID of Minecraft iron block, and I want it to be a count of 3 because I only want to target it if there's enough iron blocks to actually complete the recipe. And then I'll close off these brackets. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to do run say hi just to make sure it works, and it didn't work, so there's something wrong here. Oh, count 3B. There we go. I just forgot the B. Sometimes it's weird like that. And then I'm going to go at their position, so at S, and then I'm going to go as, and I'm just going to copy this iron block thing, but I'll replace the iron blocks with oak planks. So I'll just get this out and oak planks. And I want to make sure I add on the distance requirement, because now I don't want to execute on any oak planks, but it has to be within range of the iron block so that they're actually thrown together as a recipe. So I'll do distance of up to 1 block. So let me throw these guys down. And then I hit arrow, up arrow to get the last command I typed in. Then I'll just do run say hi. And as you can see, it went off of the iron blocks and then it went to the oak planks and said hi. And if I spread them out, you should see that it won't work. Yep, it's not working, which means that the command is working. Yeah, so now what I want to do is instead of say hi, I'm going to add on this command. But now I'm going to go into the data pack. So now that I made the basic crafting detection, I'm just going to go into main.mcfunction, and then I'm going to paste in the thing that I just was typing up. And I zoomed in so that hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on easier. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let me get the actual command. So this is what we just typed in. So basically all I'm doing is executing as all iron blocks that are in a 3-block stack, and then going on any oak planks that have a 3-block stack within a 1-block distance, and then I'm running a say command. But then we're going to replace the say command with the summon command. But of course I can't just run a summon command, because then anytime those blocks are within range of each other, then it's just going to start spamming the summon command over and over and over again. So what I have to do is make sure I kill off those items. So I'm going to make a new function here. I'm going to do cannonball.mcfunction. And if you haven't made a data pack before, make sure you go check out one of my videos or any other video on how to start making a data pack. It's pretty simple, and there are templates you could download if you want to. So now what I'm going to do is run the function. So I'm going to do run function, and then my namespace I believe is just cannon, and then I'll do cannon craft, and then in here I'll just make it say craft. And let me close this so it's easier for you guys to see. So as you can see, I'm just checking every step to make sure I don't get lost and confused about what happens. So as you can see, when these are together, it spams craft. But when they're not together, it does not say anything. So now we could move on to actually completing the crafting recipe. So let's take this summon command first. Yeah, that should be it. Let me plop this in here instead of the say command. And if you don't know how to make the text wrap like this in VS Code, it's Alt-Z or Option-Z, depending on whatever you're using. So now it should summon the item, but now I also want to make sure I kill off the item so it doesn't keep spamming and summoning it over and over and over again. So I'm just going to do kill at entity. And just to make it easier, I'm actually just going to copy it from right here, because I'm trying to kill the nearest blocks that are part of the recipe that it just detected. So it should be the same item. So whoops. And I also got to remember to add the distance requirement, because I don't want to kill all of the iron blocks. So if it's within a 1-block radius, then what's wrong here? Okay, yeah, sometimes the syntax detection doesn't actually work properly, but I think it should be fine for now. So 1-block distance, and I want to do limit of 1, because if there's multiple stacks nearby, I don't want to kill all of them. So then I'll copy paste this for the oak planks. so that should work. Let me just double check the function's loaded. Yep, it's loaded. So now when I put this in, let's hope it works. Yep, as you can see, it turned into the cannon. And the only reason there was a slight delay is because it takes some time for the individual iron blocks or oak planks to stack up into a 3-block stack, as opposed to being individual item entities. So now that we got the basic crafting done, what I'm going to do is add some of the custom sounds and any particles that I might want. And let me just get some blocks for testing. Okay. So what I want to do is, since it's a cannon, I usually just go by what it's made of or any sounds that I think it would make. And since it's a cannon, I'm just going to go with like a metal sound and like a wood sound or something. I'm going to do like an anvil probably. Anvil.land. And I'm going to play it in block since the cannon's basically a block. I'll just do all players within a 16-block radius. And I'll play it from the position of the command, which is just going to be inside of the crafting. And then I'll do volume of 1 and pitch of 1, so that'll be a 16-block radius. Oh, that was very loud. Let's see, I think I want to lower the pitch a bit. When you lower the pitch, it sometimes sounds like a completely different noise. There we go. I'll use this sound. And I'll paste this into the craft. And make sure you delete your slashes. And I'll also do like a cracking wood sound. So I'll do the zombie destroying a door thing. So I think it's block.door. No, probably zombie then. Entity.zombie. Here, attack wooden door. Yeah, or maybe the break one. I'll do break wooden door. Yeah, there we go. I'll do like a little higher pitch. Yeah, that's good. Or maybe, okay, that's good, yeah. So now I will paste this into here. Now we'll get those two sounds playing. And also add a little smoke particle. So I do /particle smoke. And then I'll play it from this position. And if you don't know what this is these 3 extra numbers are the delta. And it basically is the spread from the center. So I'm going to go with a 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. So it spreads out a little bit. And also has a little bit of speed. And I'll say 20 particles. And go F5, it's easier to see. Yeah, that should be good. So now I will paste that into here, and we should have a complete and pretty decent looking craft function. So let me reload and test it. Yep, I think that's pretty good. So now we can move on to adding the functionality of the cannon. Alright, so the first thing I want to fix is that when I place it, I want it to place like relatively in the direction the player is looking. Right now, I'm pretty sure when you place an armor stand, it faces towards you, but I want it to face towards its target. So what I'm going to do is match the rotation of this guy to the rotation of the player. So what I'm going to do is go into VS Code here, and inside of my main function, I'm going to, so remember we added that tag cannon onto our armor stand, and that's going to make sure that we could actually access all of our cannons. So I'm going to execute on all of our entities with the tag that we added, which is called cannon, and I'm going to go at the position of the cannon. Then I want to go, let's see, rotated as the nearest player, because I want to match the rotation. So if the player is looking west, I want the cannon to place west when they place it. And then I want to, so rotated as a player, run teleport. So now what's going to be happening is the command, the execute command is running as the cannon, but then rotated as the nearest player to the cannon. So when I teleport it to its own position, that won't change. But now when I set the rotation, these 2 extra tildes after the XYZ coordinate, that's the rotation. So if I add these, it's going to teleport to the current position of the command, which is now set to the rotation of the player. So now, if I go back into here, what should happen is it will match my rotation when I place. Did not work. Let's see. Oh, there's an error. So if there's an error, it's really easy to just take this into the game to check it. Run. Oh, I didn't put the entity, of course. Run teleport at S, which in this case is going to be the cannon still. So let me try it again. Oh, there we go. Oh, and as you can see, I forgot to make sure that it changes. Like, this could be pretty cool for a turret or something, but that's not what I want. I just want the rotation to match just once. So what I'm going to do is make sure that it only runs once. So I'm going to add an extra tag like started or something, or rotated tag equals exclamation mark means not rotated. So I'm going to do not rotated. And then I'm going to add the tag afterwards. Tag all entities, tag equals cannon, tag equals not rotated, then add rotated. So this should mean that it will only rotate it to match the player once, and then it won't do it anymore after that. So if I reload, you should see it should stop following me. Yep, there we go. So now when I place it, it should face around this direction. However, it's kind of weird because the cannons don't seem to actually be facing the proper direction. So if I face forward or slightly to the right, you'll notice it doesn't really line up exactly. And I turned on the hitboxes, and this shows you the exact rotation. But as you can see, the rotation of the armor stand, although it's facing forwards, and I'm actually going to disable the Y rotation so it doesn't look down. I'm going to make it look flat. But as you can see, it's not actually lined up. The cannon's like this, but the armor stand is more like this. So I think that's something to do with the pose, but I'll try to see. But first I'm going to disable this downwards rotation, and all I'm going to have to do is turn the Y rotation to 0. So now it should not look down when I place it. Yep, as you can see, it's looking flat now, but the cannon is still not correctly lined up here. So I'm going to try fix that by setting the pose. So I don't remember the exact syntax for the pose, but all you have to do is use the data get command to see what the syntax should be. So I'm going to use the data get command on this entity. You could just hit tab to fill in the UUID. And this is all the data, so I'm just going to look for the head pose, which is right here. So it is, looks like it just says pose, colon, bracket, pose, colon, curly bracket, head, square bracket, after colon. So what I could do is just try to test it here. So data, merge, entity, and I'm not looking at it. So you have to be looking at it for it to autofill. So data, merge, entity, this guy, and I'm going to try set the pose manually. Head, 0F, 0F. There you go. So as you can see, it just jittered, and it's a little better now. It still seems kind of off, which is kind of weird, but I don't really care. It's good enough. So I just have to make sure to set the pose to this. So I'm just going to copy the data merge. I'm going to go back into here, and then instead of the UUID, I'm going to replace it with the same thing that we are teleporting. So now it should face the right direction. And now it's facing weirdly. Oh, well, the function isn't even loaded, so I definitely did something wrong here. So I'm going to check what I did, probably the thing that I just added. And that's why you check often, because you'll know exactly what messed it up. So I'm going to paste this into Minecraft just to check it for me. And I did, oh yeah. So it says one entity is allowed. So make sure if you're doing data merges, you're either specifying a limit of 1 or you're going to execute on all items. So I'm just going to execute on all of the cannons. So it has a limit of 1, so what I'm going to do is just individually run a data merge on every single cannon instead of just doing it one by one. So I'm just going to go execute. Actually, I'm just going to copy this. So I'm going to copy all these guys. So execute as all those cannons, and then run data merge entity, and then this, since we're already selecting which ones we want to do, I'm just going to do @s. So now execute as all of the cannons that have not been rotated yet. Then I'm going to merge it so that it has a pose of 0, 0 for the head. So now it should work. Yep. Okay, so now we just have to test it. And as you can see, it faces where I'm looking. Okay, so now what I want to do is start the actual functioning of the shooting of the cannon. But before we get to shooting, what I want to do is add the loading. And so what I wanted to do for the loading is I'm going to use an iron ingot for like the cannonball, because I don't really want to make a whole cannonball recipe just for a hunk of metal. And then I'm going to add gunpowder for the loading. So I'm just going to make it where if you throw gunpowder and iron together, and then you light it with a torch, then it will just explode and launch the cannonball. I saw a video online. I thought from watching cartoons that you like light a little string on top and then it goes like tss, and then it goes kaboom and it shoots out the thing. but I saw a video and they stuck like a flaming piece of wood in like the back of it, which is kind of weird. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a torch. So if you hold a torch to it, then it just goes boom. So first, what I have to do is detect if iron or gunpowder gets within range of the cannon. Since we're actually going to be adding more stuff to run off of the cannon, I'm going to make a new function to run off of the cannon, since we already have stuff like the rotation, which has to detect the tag of cannon. So I might as well do that inside of a new function. So what I'm going to do is hit new function here. You could also add this manually, but I'm just going to do it through VS Code since it's easy, and I'm just going to call it cannon.mcfunction. And for now, I'm just going to say hi. Actually, no, I can move in the rotation commands. But first, I'm going to make sure that I start running the command, or running the function. So I'm going to do execute as all entities tag equals cannon at s run function cannon. Because remember, the namespace for my pack is cannon. So now inside here, I can move all of the rotations. And I'll just label this as at all cannons. Now I can put in our rotation commands. And I could also remove the tag equals cannon, since we already know that the cannon is the one being run off of here. And I'll remove at entity and change it for at s. And I also don't need at s because it's already running at s. So this should be good now. And I'm just going to double check that everything's running fine. Yep, everything loaded correctly. And let's check the rotations working. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to add the actual loading. So in order to detect the loading, I'm just going to detect kind of like floor crafting, but not really. I'm just going to execute. Since we're already at the oh wait, this is in the wrong function. Whoops, let me go to cannon.mcfunction. So now I'm going to do loading. I'm just going to make a section. So we're already running off of the cannon's position, so I'm just going to do execute as all entities tag equal, oh no, not tag. What am I doing? Type equals item. And then, actually, I could just copy it over from here. Let me just get this guy and put it into here. So now that I have this here, I could just change out block for ingot. Oh, yeah, okay. And then I'll set the count to 1. So now, basically, I'm detecting if there's an iron ingot with a number of 1, and I want to make sure it's within a 1 block radius of the cannon. Actually, no, I'll execute if entity. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to do execute if there's an iron ingot within 1 block. Then I'm going to run tag at s add, and I'll just do loaded cannonball. That's too long. I'll just do loaded iron. So if the entity of an iron ingot is within a block, I will add loaded iron. And actually, I also want to make sure that it isn't already loaded before it adds this tag. So what I'm going to do is as at s tag equals not loaded iron. So I want to make sure that it only does it if it hasn't been loaded yet. And then something else I also want to do is make sure I kill off the iron. So then I will run the same thing and run kill this entity. And as you can see, it's not actually killing off the item. And execute as not loaded. Oh, okay. And so the issue here is what we did was we're detecting if it hasn't loaded the iron yet, and we also only want to kill it if the iron has just been used for loading. But the issue is that when we add the tag for loaded iron, it now says that it's loaded. So then when it comes over to here where it's supposed to kill off the iron ingot, it doesn't know to kill off the iron ingot because the tag has now been added. Alright, so my workaround, I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but this is just a quick way that I know I could do without having to add more functions or anything like that. What I'm going to do is just have it, so the issue here is that if I run this, it makes this one not run, and if I run this, then it makes this one not run. So what I'm going to do is just have the first one, which will add the tag that says, instead of loaded iron, it's going to do loading iron. And then once it's marked loading, then I could do both add the loaded tag and kill off the iron. And then I could just remove this tag afterwards if it has it. So now I could do is just go to here and then detect if it is currently loading iron, and it knows it's loading iron if there's an iron ingot nearby. So I could delete the detection here. So now what I first do is detect if the cannon does not have a cannonball loaded, and if it doesn't have a cannonball loaded, look for a cannonball or an iron ingot within a 1 block radius, and if it does, then start the loading process. And then if the loading process starts, then I want to do the actual loading process, which is first to kill off the actual cannonball and then add the loaded tag. So I'm going to do this. Actually, I could just do tag at s add. Actually, tag at s tag equals loading iron, then add loaded iron, and then I could just do the same thing, but then remove loading iron. So that should be a good workaround. So in summary, what it does is it looks for unloaded cannons and then adds the loading tag if there is something to load. Then during the loading process, it will kill off the item it detected and then load the cannon or add the tag. And then after it's done with the loading process, it ends the loading process by removing the tag. So now what should happen, let me just get a new cannon so it's fresh and I can see what's going on, is if I throw this, as you can see it disappeared, and if I get a new iron, it should not take it. Yep, it didn't take it. And if I list the tags here, so /tag uuid list, you'll see it has the loaded iron tag, and it does not have the loading iron tag because it removed it. So now I have a way to load the iron, and I could just copy this but do it for the gunpowder. So loading iron, I could just do loading gun. Okay, now it should work. Yep, so it took that, and I think it took the iron earlier. So now if I list the tags, tag this guy list, you'll see that it has the loaded iron and loaded gunpowder, or loaded gun tags. So now once that's done, now I have to detect if a guy with a torch comes nearby, then it will remove those tags, and then it will launch a cannonball outside. So you probably don't want to watch me choosing out random particles, so I'm just going to show you that I added some particles and sounds for the loading of the gunpowder and for the loading of the iron ingots or the cannonballs. So now let's move on to the actual shooting. Okay, so this should be pretty simple actually. If you don't know how to detect if the player is holding something, or if you just don't know how to detect anything else, what you could try to do is just learn to use the data get command. It's very useful for just learning how to detect stuff. So if I just do data get, you could check all of this information, and somewhere in here it tells you, oh wait, I think I just saw it. Yeah, here we go. It says selected item, and then it's basically the same format as with detecting item entities. So there's an ID and a count. So all I have to do is go into cannon.mcfunction. So now what we have to do is start shoot. So what I'm going to do is try to detect a player. So we're already executing from the cannon, so all I have to do is execute from the player. Execute if entity, and then @p, so the nearest player, because the nearest player is going to be the one shooting it. So if the nearest player, and I'll do, what is it, nbt equals selected item is the ID of, whoops, it's hard to type around the microphone, Minecraft torch. And I'm not going to add a count tag because I don't care how many the player is holding. Oh, make sure to finish off my brackets. So execute if the nearest player is holding a torch. I'm going to just say run. I'm just going to run say hi for now. Let's see. Oh, wait, I forgot. So I don't want it just to be the nearest player. They have to be within a 1 block radius, because then it would just constantly shoot when it's loaded. So if they're within a 1 block radius, then I want it to actually say. So now it's not doing it, and if I walk within 1 block, it should spam hi. And now I also want to do is, this is going to run the shooting command, but then I also want to make sure that once I shoot, it doesn't keep spamming it and it actually unloads the cannon. But since we're going to be running multiple commands such as the shooting command and we're going to be running the removal of 2 tags, we're going to make a new function. So anytime you find that you have to run multiple things off of the same conditions, then you probably want to just make one function file that runs off of those conditions so you don't have to keep detecting for those conditions. And then inside of that function file, you can just move everything that you want to do. So in my case, that's going to be the shoot.mcfunction. So then here, no, wrong place. I'll close that. So now inside of here, instead of running say hi, or instead of running the shoot command and then running the tags, what I could do is just run function cannon shoot. And now if I go to here, I'm just going to make it say shoot just to make sure that the function is up and running. Yep, now it says shoot anytime I shoot. So now let's make it reset itself, which should be very easy. So this is going to be, let me label this as at shooting cannon. And let me make sure it's actually at, well yeah, this is running as at the cannon, so when it runs a shoot function, it should be in the same position. So say shoot, and then this we're actually going to replace with whatever we're going to do to make it shoot. But let's remove the loaded tag. So tag at s, remove loaded iron, and then the same thing, we'll do that for loaded gun. Whoops. So now what should happen is that it only does it once and then it makes it so that I have to reload. And that did not work. What is going on? Tag at s, remove loaded iron, loaded gun. Oh, okay, so I only detected if the nearest player was holding a torch, but I didn't actually detect the shooting tags. So tag equals loaded gun and tag equals loaded iron. So now it should only do it once. Oh wait, it shouldn't even have the tag anymore. So yeah, let me add the tags back. And then when I walk by with not holding a torch, and then when I walk by holding a torch. And that did not work. Let's see if the tags are the problem. Cannon, no, it's loaded. I probably did something wrong here. Tag equals, oh, I'm detecting on the player. What the heck am I doing? Okay, I'm going to do execute as at s, and then I'm going to paste in the tags. There we go. So execute as at s, which is a cannon, with the tags of loaded gun and loaded iron, and then if the nearest player is holding a torch, then we shoot. Now, finally, it should work. There we go. It says shoot once, and then I have to reload it, and then shoot once. There we go. So now we could work on actually making it shoot something explosive. So right now we just have it have a say command, but we want it to actually launch a cannonball out of it. So what we're going to do is start off by making a summon command for a small armor stand with a block of obsidian on its head to look like a cannonball and just launch it out. So first I'm going to go over to MC Stacker and I'm going to go to /summon again, and let's go to armor stand. I'm going to make it small and invisible because I don't want the wood to show. And then I want no gravity. Where's no gravity? Actually, I'll make it a marker, and that will automatically make it have no gravity. So that should be all we need. And then in the head slot, I'm going to add obsidian. Not crying obsidian, normal obsidian, and that should be all I need. But I also need a custom tag for it to be able to be detected by my command, so I'm going to call it Cannonball. Oops, Cannonball. So that should be enough to summon a usable cannonball into the game. So now I'm going to add that into shoot.mcfunction. I'm going to leave the say command there just for now, and then Alt-Z, I'm going to wrap text this. And so I'm just going to leave in the say command just to make sure that we could see it's working. So now when I shoot, it should summon the cannonball like right here. Now I'm going to shoot. Boop. And you can see there's one obsidian. And now just for testing purposes, I'm going to have a kill command here for all of the cannonballs. So, yep, and it's gone. So that's just going to make it easier to test. So now that we have it actually summoning the cannonball, we need to make sure that it matches the rotation of the cannonball to the rotation of the cannon, so that when we do our raycasting, it actually launches it in the correct direction. So what I'm going to do is go over into the shoot command, and I'm going to add it here. Hopefully it will be able to update the rotation in the same tick that it rotates. If not, then I'll have to put it into the cannonball MC function. So I'm just going to put teleportation here to check it. So TP all entities tag equals cannonball. Actually, this is as at the cannon, so I'm going to do execute as and at s to make sure that I go from the position of the cannonball, and then run TP at s. I'll do like 5 blocks into the air. If it teleports, that means I can do the teleportation command in the same command, and if not, then I'll have to do it in a separate command after it summons. Okay, so I'm going to kill this and test it. Okay, so it did teleport, so that means I can do it in the same tick, or in the same function that it's summoned in. Because I was just worried that if I tried doing this right after I summoned it, but in the same function, then this wouldn't have actually been summoned in yet. But I guess it is working, so we can do the rotation here. So now what I'm going to do is, we're already at the position of the cannon, so I just have to do as the cannonball, and then I could just do run TP at s. So that's 5 tilde, so it should store the rotation of the cannon. So if I reload, and I'm going to do this at a harsher angle so it's clearer. Okay, so the cannon, I'll place it at this angle. Now when I load and shoot it, hopefully it will be rotated. There we go, so now it's rotated. Alrighty, so now that we have the cannonball actually summoning, we have to make it so that it actually shoots, because right now it's just sitting here, and we want it to propel out of the actual cannon. And actually, first I'm going to make sure I make it invisible again and put it on the inside of the cannon. So for the summon command inside of shoot, I'm going to make it summon a little bit low, so 0. Let's say 2, and then I'll make it invisible and a marker again. Okay, so now what I want to do is, inside of main.mcfunction, I'm going to have a command that runs on all cannonballs. So execute as all actually I could just copy this and then do cannonball and run function cannonball. And then inside of here, I'm going to make a new function called cannonball.mcfunction. And inside of here is where we're going to make our cannonball run forward. So basically how it's going to work is, we're going to have a thing that checks to make sure the cannonball isn't inside of a block. And if it's not inside of a block, it will teleport forwards. And then it will keep checking until it detects that it's inside of a block. And then once it's inside of a block, so it collides with a block, then it will actually explode. So since it's already facing the correct rotation, I could just write as at cannonball facing target. Alright, so first I'm going to start off with just the teleportation commands. And I want the cannonball to move relatively quickly, but the thing is, you don't want to teleport it more than like 0.1 blocks at a time, or else it could phase through blocks. So I explained this in some previous raycasting examples, but basically the issue is that your command only can run certain checks, and if you teleport it more than 0.1 blocks at a time, then it might phase through blocks. So for example, let's say it's going down this diagonal. There's a very small area for it to hit. So for example, let's say it does a check like every full block. Each of these items represents a check. So if you teleport it 1 block forwards and only check every 1 block, you might go like 1 block, and then you skip over this like intersection portion, and then it goes 1 block again, so it just phases right through it. So what you want to make sure is that you have the checks closer together, so that you'll actually end up colliding with it. And the way we're going to deal with that is, instead of teleporting it like a whole block at a time or every tick, we're going to teleport by tenths of a block. So I'm going to put execute at s run if block right here is air, run TP at s vector coordinates 0.1 blocks forwards. So it's only going to teleport forwards if it's inside of air. And so I'm going to copy paste this. So this should teleport one block at a time. And the reason I had to add @s here instead of just doing execute if block is because this Cannonball mcfunction is going to be the position that it runs all of these. So if I teleport 0.1 blocks forwards here, but then I don't do execute @s here, it's going to basically do the same command twice because it's not updating the position that it runs the command, even though the position that the entity is existing in is being updated. So basically doing all of this would just be the same as running one of the commands if I didn't add the @s portion. So this is going to be teleporting it at 1 block per second, and I'm just gonna duplicate this. And I could probably make it a little less than 0.1, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. If I want to make it faster, then I could just increase it a little bit. It probably wouldn't make too much of a difference. And then now I'm going to make it explode. So execute @s if block right here. Actually, no, unless it is air run summon creeper at this position. I'm going to make it ignited 1B, fuse of 0 so that it explodes right away, and then what else? Explosion radius of like what, 5. Alrighty, so let me actually just double check that this summon command will actually work. Okay, there we go. And actually I'm going to turn down the explosion radius a little bit, but the idea is the same. So this should work now. Let me test it. Oh wait, we'll see if this flies forwards or not. And it did fly forwards. Oh, and there's an issue because it's going completely straight, and that is definitely not what we want. Let me kill it. Alright, so what we want it to do is curve down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is add 2 extra things right here. So let me delete all of these. And we want to adjust the rotation at the same time we're making it go forwards. And you want to do very little at a time. So this is X rotation and we want Y rotation. And I'm not sure which direction that is, so I'm going to check here. As you could check, look at this number right here when I go back into the game. It says this is 0, so when I go down, it's positive, which means I want the number to increase to make it curve towards the ground. So I'm going to make it go 0.0152. Well, let's just see that. Oh, and let me copy paste it back. Okay, this is a block of 5. Okay, so now let me test it again. Let me load it. And, oh shoot, it blew itself up. Okay. It is not killing itself. I forgot about that. So let me run kill @s. Okay, there we go. Right? Yeah. Okay, I'm reloading. And it should stop exploding. There we go. Now there's a big hole there. Let's try that again. Iron, gunpowder, torch. And it blew itself up. So, oh, the reason for that is I was trying to... If you remember earlier, I made it so that it's summoned a little bit lower, but the issue is that now it's summoning into the ground. So the reason I made it go lower is because I was basing it off of the actual obsidian block, which is the Cannonball, which means for these checks, we also have to do it based on the Cannonball, not based on the position of the armor stand. So I'm going to do all of these tildes. I'm going to replace with a position 0.2 blocks up. 0.5, 3, 4, why not? So now it'll be running all the detections 0.4 blocks above it. Yep, which basically means that it's not actually going to go off of the armor stand's position, but off of the Cannonball's position, which is what we want. So let me try that again and hope it doesn't blow itself up. There we go. Now it's working. And actually one final change I want to make is that when I was testing this in creative, you could see there's no actual drops, but I didn't test it in survival, and when you destroy it in survival, it actually drops an armor stand and an unusable cannon item. It's just like an armor stand that looks like a cannon. So I want to change it so that when it's destroyed, it doesn't actually drop the cannon or armor stand or anything, but instead just drops some materials like some wood and some iron. So what I'm going to do for that is inside of cannon craft, when I give myself the cannon, I want to make sure that the cannon that's on its head has a custom tag so I could detect it in the commands. So this is the section for the second armor stand, which is the one that has the display model. So I'm going to add a tag on it that says dead cannon 1B, and that way we'll be able to detect the dead cannon or any time a cannon is destroyed and then replace it with the appropriate drops. And it's going to basically act like a floor crafting recipe, except instead of detecting multiple items, I'm just going to be detecting the one dead cannon item. So when we destroy the cannon, it should drop its head item, which is going to be an armor stand with the tag of dead cannon 1B. So we're going to have to detect that. So what I did was I copy pasted the crafting command. And so now I'm going to just delete the second portion that detects the oak planks. And then I'm going to replace iron block with armor stand, because that is the displaying item on the head of the cannon. Set the count to 1, and then I'm going to do tag, and it is dead cannon 1B. So now I'm going to double check this works, and instead of running the function, I'm just going to say run say dead cannon detected. Oh, there's a duplicate. Okay, so now when I destroy one of these cannons, okay, well, oh, that's because it's an old one. So let me make a new cannon. So now that I have a new cannon and I place it down, what should happen is it should start spamming dead cannon found. There we go, or detected. So now that it's detected, we could run a new function on here, which will kill off that dead cannon, the armor stand with it, and will summon the drops. So I'm going to make a new function file here, which I'm going to call dead cannon.mcfunction. And then inside of here, it's basically going to be pretty similar to the crafting, except there's no crafting item. It's just going to summon some random blocks. So I'm going to bring these in and replace iron block with armor stand. And it's going to be 1B with the tag of, tag, what was it, dead cannon 1B. And then for this one, it's armor stand. And they have the distance, so it's not going to kill random entities. So that'll get rid of the dead cannon armor stand and also the main armor stand, which is just holding the actual model. And I'll put this one at the end because that's what this command is running off of. And then over here, I want to summon 2 items. So let's see. I could just copy this, I guess. And then I'll just delete, so item ID. So that's 2 layers. So I just need to leave 2 brackets. Item ID, armor stand. Okay, I don't need tag, so I'm going to go there. So I don't need armor stand. I want it to summon oak planks. And I want to summon 3 of them. Actually, I'll go 2 with them. So if it gets destroyed, you lose 1 of each each item. So now when it gets destroyed, it should summon oak planks and iron blocks on the ground, and then it should kill off the armor stand drops for both the model and the main armor stand that's actually displaying it. So now let's actually run this function off of any dead cannons. So function cannon dead cannon. Actually, what I could just do instead is, instead of detecting the tag, I could just remove that requirement, and since there's going to be 2 armor stands there anyway, I'm just going to make it detect, no, not distance of 2, but a limit of 2. So it's just going to kill both of those armor stands. So now what should happen is both of the armor stands, both of the armor stands are deleted and replaced with the blocks. And that one actually didn't, so I'm going to increase the distance here to 3 because I think it spreads out sometimes. So let's reload and let's try again. Yep, okay, so it seems like it's working just fine. And I'm just going to double check with some more cannons. And it does seem to be working. So you can see the item, the armor stand, just pop out for a little bit, and then it's replaced with these items instead. And it gives you fewer blocks, so there is still a penalty for having your cannon destroyed. Alright, now I'm going to do some final fine-tuning to make sure that the cannon could actually shoot through a 1x1 hole that it's poking out through. So I'm just going to test this. I have a feeling it's probably going to blow itself up. Yep, it blew itself up. There we go. So now let's test it inside of the boat, actually. Alright, so now I put the boat back. And now let's try it again, shooting against this wall for testing. Gunpowder, iron ingot, and launch. There we go. So now it seems to be working just fine. So that's basically the entire Cannon Let's Code episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it or found some useful stuff that you could use. And if you want to download this packet, it will definitely be in the description below for you to screw around with, or if you want to check the code. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.